Because your draft is legendary.
It's a better story than just playing 12 years and getting to the Hall of Fame. I had ups and downs. I left, came back. I still got to 10,000 yards rushing in my career.
But because it's a long life.
It's exactly.
Football is short.
Oh.
I think, and you, when it was baseball, when it was Texas. Now, I was going to the smallest school in Nebraska when you came in and ruined Nebraska's day.
Yes, I remember that.
I enjoyed that thoroughly because we were known as a suitcase college. They would leave our game to go see Nebraska. So I'm sitting there, Texas coming to town, and everyone, and we're watching, and I was like, hey, man, I hope he has a day on him. Yeah, at that time they were undefeated. Nobody was touching Nebraska. Right?
Yeah.
Frazier and them was on a whole other level, and you smoked him. You made that place quiet. And all we kept talking about was like, he's not even going to play ball because he's already signed with baseball. So to every college player, you were like, this dude's he's got the world by the horns, even though you were Texas Longhorn, but you did.
Yeah.
How much pressure was that?
And the reason I chose Texas was it wasn't even I didn't feel the pressure. It was for the opportunity to show what I could do. And I was very particular about where I went to school or where I felt like I could shine the brightest. And I had the best supporting cast and the best coaching staff. So pressure didn't start into the NFL.
Didn't start to the NFL? Because your draft is legendary.
Yeah.
Dick had the braids and the dreadlocks and all that stuff. And was it Master P?
It's
like you were surrounded. Everybody wanted to PC you.
I was doing too much. I was doing too much.
Yeah.
I was doing too much too early. I don't want to say too much, but it's like for me, I was waiting my whole life for that moment to be a professional football player. So I had plans.
Yes.
I had plans of how I wanted to do different, how I wanted to be different and be a pioneer. And I think I just tried to take on too much too fast.
Well, that's what happens when you're young, though, because once you let the grays grow in, and you get that wisdom, when you look back, how many times have you? I look back at my career, whether it was WWE or when I was playing ball or even bodyguard and stuff. There was moments where I'll sit back now and be like, man, if I could have just sat my ass down for 3 seconds, and just do you look back now, not with regret because you wouldn't be where you were had it not been that path.
Well said,
yeah. But do you ever look back like, man, if I just would have took a step here? You translate that down when you talk to your kids or you talk to young brothers.
You took it out. I mean, to me, the value of watching film, going back and reviewing those moments is, I know it prepared me that I'm going to meet somebody going through a similar situation, and I won't give them advice. I'll just tell my story,
right?
And it's gonna make a difference.
You give them a teachable moment.
You give them a real teachable moment where I can say, you can go watch YouTube and check it out if you don't believe me.
Yeah, no, it's legit.
Yeah.
So you had all the hype in the world. You're one of the best players in the league. And then you take a hiatus.
Yeah.
And then during that, you had some spiritual stuff.
Yes, a lot of spiritual
stuff.
But spiritual is to me, spiritual is a part of you that doesn't die. It keeps on.
Yeah, no, because it's a long life.
It's exactly.
Football is short.
Oh man, and
careers are short.
And I didn't realize that. And thank God I took that year off because it gave me perspective. I had been in like football. And what happened is I started doing the math. And I was like, if they keep giving me the ball this many times, I'm not going to last long. And then when I'm done playing, I'm going to be all messed up. So I was like, there's things I need to do before I go all in. And so I said, I need to get away.
Right. And like I said, that was such a career risk. That takes a lot of courage because the league is not promised. And they also don't like people or men who decide that their independence and their prosperity, if it differs with them, that they can say, hey, I'm going to take a break. Because most of us would not take the chance.
Yeah. The reality at the moment is I started traveling around the world. And I went to Australia. And the reality is I didn't think I was ever coming back to America, let alone come back to
wow.
But I got my mind straight. And the NFL gave me an opportunity to come back, and I was able to come back and show what I could do with my mind straight. And it's a better story than just playing 12 years and getting to the Hall of Fame. I had ups and downs. I left, came back. I still got to 10,000 yards rushing in my career. And I allowed myself to be more than just a football player.
Because the only other person that you really think of that did that was Jordan.
Yeah.
With basketball.
Yeah.
Football, I'm trying to think of somebody. Now I'm talking about not getting cut.
Yeah.
And resurfacing and getting opportunity. That's different. That happens. That's the nature of the beast. I'm talking at a high level. Said, I'm taking a break and actually walking away from the money, leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
So go
a lot of money on the table. But it helped me realize is when people say value or worth, like, of course, money's going to be on the top of the list. But the reason we value money is because the things it allows us to do. And so I was thinking, I'm just going to be playing this game my whole life until I run my tires, raw. And I had this moment where I was like, I looked at my bank account. I was like, I'm good. And I was like, they don't want to let me like live my life and do the things that are important to me. Looked at the money. I was like, I'm good. I had enough money to do all the things that I wanted to do. So I said, I'm going to do it.
There's nothing more dangerous than a man who has simple tastes.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, like, I used to always say, like, when I was my time in the WWE, if they ever, so look, my truck's paid for. My house is paid for. I don't need much else but a fishing pole and edible or something. Like my stuff's very little. Now my wife's stuff the kids have they have finances, and that's why I work today. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Because I have my stuff. But when material things don't matter, when the gold chains no longer are bright, when the things that they convince us that we need to be a man, we need to have a $200,000 car, we need to buy every relative a house. When you take that mindset to realize that those are all things that keep you stuck, because the worst thing, my goal was just like everybody else. I wanted to buy my mom a house. I wanted to be that guy. And the craziest advice I got one time, old brother, he played for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was a janitor at a school I was finishing my degree at. And he was talking to me, and I was like, "Oh man, what the hell can you tell me?" And he's like, "What can I tell you?" And he was defensive tackle. He broke his leg, and his career was over.
Yeah.
He said to me, all the things that you did, he's like, we all wanted to do. Well, let me ask you this. Can your mama pay the mortgage by herself? I said, no. Then you don't buy her a house. And you know what? If she's your mama, she won't want you to do that. Because if your stuff ends tomorrow, can they take care of themselves? And I just was sitting there, and then I apologized. He's like, I think his quote was like, no, you dumb motherfuckers don't understand shit. That's what's wrong with y'all. They lose the gold chain and grow up.
It's real, but I think you have to go through it. Because when I got the Hummers and the Ferrari, I had to experience it, but I let myself have the experience and recognize when I didn't need it anymore. Because to me, when you can appreciate the simple things in life, that's the only way you can be free. Otherwise, you're always chasing.
Now, let me ask you. Now, of course, you were synonymous, and I worked for the. You can't say we without Snoop.
Yeah.
You just can't. And even when he said he quit, and at that time I was off wrestling, and when they came to me and maybe he quit in front of you, but have you seen how it's changed? How it's become. It's almost the normalization of it. We see the legalization, although I still think it's ridiculous that the states, we just all can't get together.
Yeah.
We've seen the medicinal purposes of it. We've seen, we've seen like the NFL was so anti, NBA was so anti, but we see the medicinal purposes, especially what it does with stuff with mind in terms of stress and pain management. It's from the earth. Are you pleased to see how things have changed in terms of that? Because literally guys could lose their career for wanting to take care of the body because the stigmatism of it is a drug. Has changed a lot. Are you pleased with the way things have changed?
I mean, of course, they could change more.
It could always be better, yeah.
But I'm walking around here, and if we go back in time 15 years, I'd have been walking with my covered up. And now I'm doing interviews, and we're saying weed, and we're laughing. We're talking about gummies. It's kind of normalized. It's weird, even 10 years ago, if we say it's medicinal, people are like,
right, yeah.
But now, grandmas, uncles got gummies, and they're starting to have the experience. This is real, and it's not slowing down. It's not going back.
No, and what's funny is because people, I used to get stuff, and they would do hey, why do you take? Because I take gummies to go to bed at night. I like to clear my mind and relax. And I said, what I'm having is from the earth. It's not manufactured, other than my weird friend from South Africa that bakes the stuff. And I don't ask him how he does it, but he does it. And it's magic. And he says he puts whatever his Watusi shit on there, whatever the hell it is. But it puts me to a very comfortable, relaxed sleep. And I'll be like, I would rather do that than take a damn pill that gets me addicted to where because I'll have times where I'll be on the road and be like, I can't be that sleepy in the morning. So no.
Yeah.
There's no, the addictive purpose, the addictive features are not there. Where with pharmaceuticals, they're pushing those pills you're taking stuff to put you to sleep. Then you got to take something to wake you up.
Yeah.
And that starts a horrible cycle.
Yeah, those pharmaceuticals, man, it's crazy. It's crazy even that in our mindset. First of all, like doctors are educated, and if I got surgery, if I need surgery, whatever, I'm definitely going to a surgeon. But the mindset is like some other person has the ability to know your body more than you do.
Right.
And what I noticed when I was popping pills, I was shutting off my awareness to my body.
Right.
When I started smoking, I was like, ooh, I need to spend some more time working, like stretching this knee before practice, or ooh, that spot on my back, I got to make sure I take care of it. So I liked it because it put me more in touch with what was going on.
And you could also, because this is what I always told people, it's like you got a flat tire. And when you take a painkiller, they give you Depakote or not Depakote, they give you Oxycontin or something. You're going to grind, when the tire's off, your rim's going to keep grinding on the ground. And the damage is getting worse, but you don't feel it because you're numbed up.
That's real.
And you can't, and then eventually you can't put the tire on anymore.
It's real.
Because your rim is fucked.
Yeah.
Because you can't feel it. So I was always, and that was the one nice thing about when I got to the WWE, they drug tested heavily for that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I just rather, and I was like, look, here's the thing about wrestling. Wrestling, yes, it's a sport, it's simulated combat, but I can say, hey, man, my shoulder's a little sore tonight, so hit this one. Yeah. You know, it's not like football.
Yeah.
And they're actually where, you know, if you show weakness, that's where they're going to come get you at.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was laughable when I heard guys like, man, I'm in pain, I got to take. I was like, bruh, this is the one sport that we can work around it.
Yeah.
You know, we could take care of each other. Yeah. And that was our whole mindset. So we didn't have some of the issues that the groups before us came. And now that's like even the new generation. They're even more ahead of it than we are. I was on with the stretching, and I didn't figure out stretching until I was in my 40s. I was like, man, I used to have teams of guys have to hold me down in football to stretch me because I just hated stretching. I always thought it was a waste of time.
You know, it's something that I think we don't talk about enough because it's uncomfortable. It's starting to get out there more, but people that do physical things, a lot of times the damage we do is irreversible.
Yes.
Like I have a story that it haunts me is when I came back from my third suspension.
Isn't it funny now because it's suspensions and now it's like he's doing what he needs to do.
Exactly.
We're proud of you.
I came back from my third suspension and I was suspended for a year and a half. So
it was a long time. Yeah.
I came back week 10 and we went up to Pittsburgh and it was pouring down rain. And something in my mind was like, I probably should wait till next week before I come back. But my coach, he was excited because the team hadn't won a game all year.
Yeah.
He was like, you ready to go? And I said, yeah. Okay? I knew I should have said no. Second quarter, I get hit, the ball comes out, and I'm trying to get the ball, and someone jumps on my chest, and it rips my pec off my humerus. And I still feel that injury today, you know? And I know guys, tons of injuries, and they're going to feel those injuries for the rest of their life.
You're not walking out the way you walked in.
It's real.
And I call it paying the bill.
Yeah.
So I smile because, you know, you get hit. I remember Big Show hit me with his, they say, oh, it's never been done before. And that's when I should have said, there must be a reason. Big Show's going to take the announce table. He's going to hit you with it in the back. And I was like, and they even said, we're going to walk through and he's going to hit you up in the top of the shoulders, right? And every time he hit me, I could tell he didn't really have a good handle on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, but there was no one in you know, it's closed off, the audience in, and you had the adrenaline and stuff.
Yeah.
And he hit me and I made a joke like, oh, thank you, sir. Can I have another? And then Vince was like, hey, try it one more time. Bonk, hits me again. And I was like, you good? And he's like, yeah, I got it, you know. And I didn't realize that we were having a strength man issue because I was, you know, I benched 600 pounds. I was naturally strong, big, strong guy. And Big Show was, it said it was, but there was some issues with authenticity of the monster strength, right? Yeah. So we get out there and you got 20,000 fans on Monday Night Raw and he picks that table up and I said to myself, man, this was a bad idea. And I could have said something like, hey, man, just put me through the table. Yeah. And when he hit me in the small of the back. not the front. And my fingers went like that. The
Makes
nerve
sense.
just went.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sciatica exploded.
Yeah.
And then he hit me a second time. And at that point on live TV, I just said, fuck. And now you get fined for cussing. And then he hit me a third time, and I was like, hey, I can't feel lower part of my body right now. It's just completely numb. And I get to the back, and Vince is like, hey, what were you cussing out there? And I said, boss, I couldn't think of anything else to say. And they were like, where'd he hit you? And I said, it was the lower back or whatever. And to this day, now the first thing I wanted to do was surgery. And I was like, I'm not getting surgery, because if I get surgery, I'm never going to be the same.
Yeah.
Especially with your back. So I went out and I got 2 things. And I said, listen, I know it's a fine. It's a $300 fine for every time you pop a weed, but I'm making more than $300. So I'll do that.
It's only $300.
The WWE was very like, everything else they bust you for, but they were very lenient in terms of weed. And I think they pulled it back even more now.
Yeah.
But I found this book in this doctor in San Francisco called The Supple Leopard. And it was all stretching and bands and strengthening other muscles around and listening to your body. And he's like, you can create healing by improving your support muscles. He says, the reason why you feel pain on this side of your body, because it's overworking. And he's explaining it to me. And listen, I think I got a C+ in anatomy in college.
Yeah.
He's like, it's very simple. Close your eyes and listen to your body. And then find a page in the book with that muscle and do that stretch. Yeah. And it was stuff that cost like $3. A baseball, a softball, a stretch band. And I was consistently doing this stuff with my trainer. And within 6 months, I was stronger and better than I would have been had they drilled that hole in me and put me on those painkillers.
It's funny you say that, because the reason I'm here, I'm promoting a program.
Yes.
Yeah. But we just did.
Yeah.
We just did. And because the message I'm trying to send is, like we said, we didn't realize how important it was to take care of our bodies. And I met these women who, they do amazing work. It's like they can put their hand here and they can feel what's going on like deep inside the body. And so I started, and it's very similar to what you said. Just close your eyes, tune in to
listen to
your body. Yes. And I think that really is the key to healing.
That, and I think getting off pills. I think,
because it's hard to listen to your body when you're on pills.
Because it's numbed up.
Yeah.
And then you become reliant, and you do get, I call it a false sense of success, because for a couple hours you feel fine. Like, oh, my back don't hurt anymore. No. It's hurting worse. You just don't. Eventually you're going to get off, and then guess what happens? The drugs lose strength. So you need what? More stronger drugs. And then your kidneys start to feel the effect of having to process that. And next thing you know, you're dependent on medication for the rest of your miserable time on this earth. Yeah. And you went from 1 bottle to 17.
That's more real than I think people appreciate. And that's why I'm doing this program, because I see far too many retired football players where their quality of life just goes down, and it's just because they don't know.
I talked to the other day, I saw Lawrence Taylor, and I think he's early 60s.
Yeah.
He looked phenomenal. He looked great. And when I saw him 10 years ago at a youth football camp, he was beat up. He was leaning forward. He had that gait.
Yeah.
You could tell he was just uncomfortable and miserable. And talking to him, and he was just like, man, I just started taking control of my life and started listening to myself and trusting my family and doing stretches. And he's like, and he's enjoying life. Like, he had his grandson with him. I brought his grandson up on the stage, and we were sitting and talking to his grandson. And by the way, his grandson was, I wanted to take him home.
Yeah,
and I wanted to tell my kids, like, hey, listen to this young man right here. He's getting ready to go to, I think he's going to go to North Carolina. He's going to go play with Belichick. But I was like, well, what is your goal? And he looked at me dead, and he's like, he's got the braids and all this stuff. And sometimes, worst thing we hear from young brothers, I'm going to be a rapper. I'm the 1% stuff. I'm going to be an electrician. Yeah. See? And I was like, 20. I'm sorry, young man. Did you say electrician? Because you're giving me goosebumps. Yeah. I said, you're going to have a trade and you're going to chase your dream at the same time. I said, man, listen, I got 4 kids at home. Yeah. 6, you count my stepkids, but they're older. I said, if you could come talk to them, I will pay you for your time, because you got to have something to fall back on. Man. But it was just the whole encompassing of going from getting off of that medications and listening to your body. Now, what's the name of this product? Because we just started talking about it.
Yeah. So it's called Healing from the Gridiron.
Healing from the gridiron.
But it's exactly this, because I called it that is like a double entendre. One is, I think, you're a great example of taking everything you learn in life from football and doing other things with it.
Right.
Because everything we learn is priceless. But if we are stuck, we're not doing anything with it. So part of it is we do need to heal from the NFL if we want to get on with our lives. But also, so many people can learn from watching players go through that healing process.
Yes.
They can learn, one, that no matter what you go through, you can always get better.
Redemption's
it's
powerful.
never too late.
Yeah, no, and that's, I've been fired by the best of them. So I've been cut, you name it, it has happened. But I always look at those failures as the roots to my next success or my next journey. And sometimes you try to tell that to people and they're like, you only got this because of this. Now, listen, I had a big mouth my entire life. And my football coach once said to me, I don't think I've ever met a person who talks more during a game. How do you breathe? And as an offensive lineman, like, don't you think sometimes you just shut, quote, the fuck up and just block instead of talking? Because I would get into, because D-line be a little bit, they get quick and stuff. So I would try to find things about them, like how their personal life was. I heard your grade point average in college. You just bringing some weird shit. Yeah, you see that new Phantom Menace, man, that Star Wars game was bullshit. I don't know about you, snap. And it just, it's just the way it was. Wrestling, promos was cool. Bodyguard was on time was hard because Stu was like, you have to stop making me laugh talking shit to people. So when it came time for me to make a decision to go back into wrestling or stay with Snoop, he was like, I love you, but you need to go. Like, he's like, hey, man, like, you just need to follow. And then wrestling, and then it turned into going on Fox and just speaking my mind and making fun of stuff, but talking about life at the same time, taking stands, especially as a black man, and going on Fox News and being
Fox,
who you are.
Thank you.
And they just, and I caught that. It was funny because all the old school guys, Marcus Allen and Andre Reed and Lawrence Taylor, they're like, brother, we watch you every night. And I was like, where the fuck have y'all been? I've been running through the woods with every stick, rock thrown at me. Uncle Tom, this, that, whatever. And I said, no, all the trees are cut down, and y'all standing there like we've been there the whole time.
Like, you representing?
I was like, man. I said, listen, independent black man or any man is a powerful man, and no one's going to tell me how to vote. I voted for Barack twice. I voted for Trump 3 times because both at that time, those were what's best for me and mine. And I said, that's what it has nothing to do with political parties, affiliations. None of that shit is like, and I speak on what I speak on. I speak common sense because I've been there. You have to go through life, fail to be able, and you can speak on it. And now it's funny because now it's coming everywhere, because for a long time, this thing like the NFL, seeing guys start doing the Donald Trump dance, and I was like, and I don't even care about other than the fact, like, you should be free to express yourself. Doesn't have to be.
That's what it's all about, freedom.
Yeah. And it just, that's one thing though, man, I think you have always encapsulated, has always been your spirit. Even though you were in the NFL, you were always your own man. And I think you were vilified for it because if that got contagious.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't have that.
Exactly. Honestly, it was a struggle every moment. It's like, part of me was like, I got to fit in. Part of me was like, I can't. It was a struggle, and I'm glad I went through it because I am myself, and I feel like I have a story to tell. My story to tell.
Yes, and you should, because your story will affect someone somewhere, and even sometimes someone you would never even imagine. Like when I wrote my first book, I was told it needed to be a certain way, it needed to be this way, it needed to be that way. They want to give me a ghostwriter, and I said, listen, if I can't do it myself, I don't want to do it. I said, I'm good. Yeah. And they were like, well, fine. You're not gonna work at HarperCollins. I'm like, okay, I'll just take my book elsewhere. I'll bet on myself because I don't want somebody recording me and then writing some words down and putting my face on a book. And then someone's going to read that and be like, this is you, Tyrus? So I did it myself. It was painstaking and it took a long time, a lot longer than it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And then when I finished the damn thing, I turned it in. I had a writing coach. We turned it in. And like 3 weeks before it came out, I called him up. The editor up and said, hey, I decided I didn't want to talk about my childhood. And I didn't want to talk about a lot of the things that I've failed and made mistakes at. I said, I don't want to do this book anymore. So can we just take some stuff out? We could scrap it. And they was like, Tyrus, it's already out. It's in stores. It comes out Wednesday.
Start working on that.
Bro, you want to talk about being naked, walking down the street after being in the ocean for 4 hours?
Yeah.
Like it was, and then they call me up like, hey, we're number one. I'm like, no, you're number one. Appreciate you, man. He's like, no, you big dummy. You're number one on Amazon. You're New York Times bestseller. People love your story because you told it. And then HarperCollins, because they had to come out and be like, I murdered their author that came out that week. But it goes back to that precedence, man. If you do it your way, it might take longer.
Yeah.
And your journey might kind of go like that. But when you cross that finish line, no one else can stand next to you and be like, well, I did it for you. And it just is so empowering.
Yeah.
And I tell that all the time, man. It might not, the path you are on might not be, your roads will change. You just got to know to keep walking forward.
Yeah. I always see people who write a book, right? When they're talking about the book, they like hold it like this. Like, I put so much into this. Like,
because you do feel
this is real.
Yeah. And you want people. My problem was like, I wrote it thinking but never really thought about other people reading it.
Yeah.
I was writing it to kick HarperCollins' ass for telling me I couldn't do something. So when it came out, and then the second book was a lot easier. Once you did the first one, the second one is easier, and I'm working on third. Actually, I just finished a children's book with my daughter. So my daughter went from soccer to equestrian riding. So she's 10 years old. She's in Wellington, Florida right now. She's competing against 16 to 14 years old.
Like when the
jumping the horses and all that.
When they do the cripple out.
Now we're trying to get. She wants to do that. It's the dressage.
That's it.
Yeah. So right now she's a hunter, jumper, and an equestrian, and a flats. But each one needs a different horse. So again, it goes back to like, hey, Tyrus, where's your gold chain? I found horses. I'm a horse dad. The first thing they said to me when I went in there with my daughter and she got accepted to Beacon Hill, because we were a little small place. It was like $2,000.
Yeah.
She rode a little horse, Roosevelt. She went to competitions. She was winning.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, baby, you doing good. And she was like, yeah, daddy. And then her mom was sitting there and some ladies was talking like, Beacon Hill produces Olympians and da-da-da. You should bring your daughter over there for a trial. She's really good. And they were like, well, they don't take them until they're 14. And but you can take her for a trial. They'll evaluate her and tell her what she needs to work on. So I okayed it because I was expecting my little girl would get a good experience and see if this is what she really wants to do.
Yeah.
First ride, Stacia, the owner of the Beacon Hill, said, I'll take her. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Well, first she's with us and she rides our horses. And, of course, our horses are champions, top of the world, and they're athletes. They get treated better than anybody in the NFL. Bro, these motherfuckers, they get massages, acupuncture, personal training, psychiatrists. They have horse days where they do their nails. And I'm like, you got to pay for all that, plus their weekly vet checks. They're arrogant. They're not like the horses like you go to give an apple. They're like, is that organic? Like, I'm just telling you, bro. I walk in there and I see this old man sitting there and I was like, hey, man, how you doing, man? I'm new here. My daughter's riding this horse. He looked at me and he said, you have any dreams? I was like, yeah. He's like, fuck them all. You're a horse dad now. This is the rest of your life. Were you going to retire? I was like, in a couple years. You ain't anymore. Bruh. We're at 3 horses right now because you got to have one. So I'm hoping she don't get the dressage buzz because we need to stick with the 3 we got. But my son plays baseball.
Yeah.
He's 13 and he's 6'4", and he's actually, it's funny. He's getting looked at by the O-line coach from Texas who's like, I'll wait. Don't worry. Like, we're not going to miss out. I was like, bro, by the time if that's even his path, you could be, and he's like, oh, I got tenure. I ain't going anywhere, baby. I'll be here. And he's doing travel ball. He plays for like 6, 7 different, I'm going to tell you that, but he does jiu-jitsu. So I'm training, and he trains at D1. I won't let him play football because of his size, because he had to play 2 age groups up, and he's going to get murdered.
Yeah.
I don't want to put him through. I was like, listen,
but if he wants to, when he gets to high school
is there because I made a deal with him. You train at D1, and you get all the lifts in, and you do the combine workouts that they train you for.
Yeah. And
you continue to bust your ass at baseball and jiu-jitsu and good grades, then it's all yours, baby. But not until we get to high school. And then it made me feel better because I didn't play till high school. And talking to Lawrence Taylor was a baseball player. He didn't play football till his sophomore year, and he said he hated it. He almost quit.
Damn.
But it gave me hope because I was like, you know what? A lot of guys who started with baseball that transition to football, they always have great footwork and all that power comes from your hips because the home runs come from the hips.
Yeah. That was my first love. Baseball was my first love.
I was surprised because you were drafted by the Royals, correct?
I was drafted by the Phillies.
Phillies, yeah.
Yeah.
And and that's another reason why we were all in awe of you in school was because you had money in school. Well, NIL before NIL. You know what I'm saying? Because we were like, hey, man, you're getting that baseball contract. I cannot tell you how many brothers in the football team started getting baseball gloves and like, hey, let's throw the ball. Because that was something, like I said, you inspired a lot of us, man. And I just remember you because I was in Nebraska. Yeah. You came in there and you broke him off because Nebraska's an arrogant place.
Yeah.
Their football program then, it was national championship.
I think they haven't lost in like 6 or 7 years.
No. Yeah. No. And when in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was not supposed to happen.
Exactly.
So I never got a chance to thank you for that. Of course. You gave us a little victory that day. I didn't have to hear it.
I'm glad I can help.
Yeah. But so hey, where do people find information?
Yeah, so it's on the web. It's healing from gridiron. So healing from the gridiron.
And again, if someone who's not athletic would have the same thing, they can check it out. The same thing. You don't have to play football to feel better.
You don't have to play football to feel better.
You don't have to play any sports. If you work with your hands, you do anything. Just
if you've been through stuff.
Yeah.
If you've been through stuff, it's inspiring.
Right. Awesome, man. Hey, man, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm inspired by you. I feel like,
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like I said, I watched a documentary when you were on your journey.
30 for 30, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, but I look at documentaries as a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to tell their story.
Their story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just like,
I was fighting with them. Like, it's my story, not yours.
Yeah. But the one thing I was like, I said, you know why they hate on him so much? Because he's free.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about you, man, that has inspired me in my career. And a lot of people, when we talk about Ricky, you just talked about it in a different way.
Yeah.
Now, people who haven't had to sacrifice or didn't fight or love to play a sport, they might not get that because most of us are never free in the sense that I got one more play in me.
Yeah.
I can still play. I got it, coach. I won't let you down.
Yeah.
Because you want to be there so bad.
Yeah,
you will sacrifice everything around you.
Yep.
I had to learn how to be a dad. I had to learn, because I didn't have time for it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. My first 3, I caught up, but my bad. It took me a minute.
It took me a minute.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I talked about that in my book. I said the only thing I don't talk about is my kids because that's their story.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have questions for me, and it's not going to be. Well, some stranger's going to come up and say, hey, your dad had 3 of you in 2011. Like, yeah. I got 4, but 3 of them are all 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and none of the hairs match.
Yeah, I got 2 of them.
So I got an international house of pancakes in my house. I got a Pacific Islander. I got an Hispanic one. I got a regular black one. And my last one is a little German one. So, like, none of the hairs match. They all have I know what I look like in every race. It turns out I'm cute. But, there was a time in my life, man, where I was sitting in my studio apartment thinking of a way to escape.
Yeah.
Because that responsibility was coming. Not to mention the fact that it's bad enough having the babies, Mom, but it's bad enough when they all have the same,
the same age,
the same year.
Hey.
Yeah, there's some questions.
Yeah. Some questions.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
A lot of hate.
Yeah.
A lot of anger. And I had to go through, and I had to face all of that because I tried to run from it for a while. Yeah, I think luckily, and again, I have to answer for that at some point with my kids because eventually they're going to say, hey, Dad, why were we all born in the same year?
They haven't got to that point yet?
No, they still ask if they're triplets. And I say, well, kind of. They're...
Oh, it'd be a fly on the wall when that comes.
Oh, my son is starting to he's very innocent in the sense that he's still all about his Dragon Ball Z and his Godzilla action figures.
Yeah.
He plays his baseball game with girls. When girls come around, he's kind of like, ew.
Yeah.
They don't play sports good. They don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z or Godzilla. So he's still, now my daughters, of course, older.
Yeah.
They got all kinds of shit to say.
Yeah.
It's like, Daddy, if I was to meet someone like you at school, would you let me date him? I'm like, no. Wait, no, Daddy now? The man I am now with integrity and stuff? Absolutely. The man I was when I was that age?
Well said.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and then they would ask questions and you got to answer, but that's not for the public.
Yeah.
I said, you guys can write that book. living with me, and you can use my reporter. Lucky you. But that's one thing I respect you, man. Redemption is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And you can't be great, or you cannot reach higher altitudes in life without failure.
Yeah. You said it.
You know, so hey, man, but hey, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if you knew you were going to walk in all this interview today, but I've been waiting a long time to talk to you.
I'm glad I'm
on that list. This is the only interview I have today. I'm going home.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, man, I got a lot to talk to you about, because you inspired me. A lot of times in low points in my life, I would think like, hey, man, I just want to be free.
Yeah.
You know, and still want to do what I want to do. And that's cool. And you look happy. You're walking good. You're not walking. You don't got ears to walk. No, it's cheap. I'm trying to keep up, man. My son's getting so big and strong, like I can't just bounce him around in the pool anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm training again.
Yeah.
I'm training again because I'm like, no, you know what? I got to chase after horses and shit now. And I got a daughter, and my other daughter's swimming. My other daughter's playing basketball. All my kids are in sports. And I'm like, hey, I got to be, it's when I retired from wrestling, I was like, oh, that's it. I got to lift new. And I was like, no, this is the next chapter in my life. And I got to be present.
Yeah.
And so I'm on my, way down, and then they're like, hey, you want Ozempic? And that's no, I know what it takes. Push the plate away.
Yeah.
You go to work. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because everybody wants that quick fix.
Yeah.
I said, and my question has always been this. I'm like, hey, listen, if Ozempic is so great, how come nobody in Norway takes it? And that's where it's made. And it's only $15 over there. But no one takes that shit.
They know.
Yeah. You know, and that's one thing I'm excited about RFK Jr.
Yeah,
because he's really about that health world. I had a good talk with him, and he's really wants to do a lot of work with autoimmune diseases, which is effective our food.
Now we're having these conversations.
Yeah, you know, and it's becoming cool to talk about yourself and being right. But again, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
and I can keep you here all day. But man, enjoy this week, these festivities, and all your honors and all that good stuff, man. And hopefully we can talk again soon.
Yeah, until next time.
Till next time, brother. Thank you.